to another area altogether, to the IT area. There is a Nasscom meeting happening in Bangalore, and we have a very important guest speaking to us from there, Mr. Kiran Karnik, former head of Nasscom, and of course was in the news so much because of Satyam. This Nasscom meeting assumes importance because it is coming immediately after a fairly important statement, or seminal statement coming from President Obama, that he would rather favor jobs being created by companies in Buffalo rather than Bangalore. This headline juxtaposition and speech against offshoring jobs to India has created quite a stir. So the Nasscom meeting is likely to be dominated by this discussion. We did have Mr. Girish Paranspe earlier today, and he did say that largely it is anyway offshored jobs that will be replaced by locals, and that he doesn't expect any fresh onslaught on Indian jobs. But nevertheless, the industry is a worried lot because of this. Let's ask Kiran Karnik, the former head of Nasscom, who is joining us from Bangalore. Mr. Karnik, thanks much for joining us. Really, that is the big question in the mind of investors as well as lay people. What has been the impact, or how does the IT industry receive this juxtaposition of Buffalo, jobs in Buffalo rather than Bangalore, which President Obama said? Is the industry generally fearing that fewer orders will come by, or that their margins will be under pressure?
Well, first I should say, I think he probably should have said Beijing instead of Bangalore, because most of the jobs are flowing to China rather than India. But that apart, I do think that this is a matter of some concern. I think that this is a bill which the US business itself will have difficulty with, and therefore it may not make its way through and become law. But the indications given by President Barack Obama, by even indicating this kind of thing, doesn't send a very positive signal. It is indicative of protectionism, which in the present state of the global economy is not a good idea for anyone.
What's your own guess, Mr. Karnik? The cries against offshoring are hardly new. We see them surfacing now and then. Do you think it will just get by with American businesses recognizing that they will become extremely uncompetitive when their rivals across the world are allowed to offshore or outsource? So what are the bets? Do you think they'll die a natural death? These kinds of threats, they are made more for populist posturing?
Well, I expect so, because end of the day, the economics of the situation is such that it's unlikely that such a bill makes sense to anybody. And also at the end of the day, particularly in the US, economics tends to predominate over politics. So there is a degree of political stance, there's a certain degree of rhetoric, there's a deep concern which is very understandable, but the economics of it is going to be critically important, and the fact is that US companies will have extreme difficulty competing with others if such things begin to happen.
Well, Mr. Karnik, just shifting to another issue, one has been listening to some or getting news of some positive developments in the US economy in terms of the ISM manufacturing numbers, a slightly more cautiously optimistic statement even by Ben Bernanke. Numbers are really starting to look less pessimistic, and in some areas even optimistic. What's the general feeling at the Nasscom meet? Are IT majors seeing more order renewals, longer gestation orders being discussed?
Well, I would say that the mood is certainly shifting. In terms of actual concrete work coming through, we have to wait and see what happens for a while yet. But certainly there does seem to be the proverbial light at the end of the tunnel. You can only hope that it is genuine light coming through and not just artificial one hanging there. But it is something that is indicative of positivity, and the mood as reflected here in the meet in Bangalore, where many IT folks have collected, is yet yes, there does seem to be some signs of things getting better. And the optimism also comes from the fact that till a few weeks ago, many people feared that it's going to take quite a while for things to change. And now the mood seems to be that there are some signs and that things may change for the better quicker than later.
Mr. Karnik, could you also tell us a little bit about the kind of employee situation at Satyam right now? What is, we hear that the benched Satyam employees may now be recruited by Tech Mahindra, and what are the kind of layoffs, if any, that have taken place with the Satyam employees?
No, I don't want to comment just now very much on Satyam issues. No layoffs have taken place. But in terms of what is going to happen and what is planned and what Tech Mahindra might do, I would leave it to them to talk about it. We are yet very much there, but the board, as you probably know, is in the process of transition, and there will be Tech Mahindra people on the board very soon. They will make the decisions. It's for them to make the decisions. They own the company now. We are in discussions at the moment, and very soon, I think in the course of the next few weeks, they will begin to, chart out their course of action for where and how they want to look at Satyam, what direction they want to take it, how are they going to tackle some of the issues that are facing the company. But I would urge patience till then.
Fair point, Mr. Karnik, but still you are handing over, as you hand over charge, are you getting a feeling that some kind of employee stability and order stability has, as in terms of client stability, has returned to the company?
Well, as far as customers are concerned, most certainly. We've seen this for a while. After the initial knee-jerk reaction, there was great concern. But over the last few weeks, right from the time we stepped in, we have been in constant contact with customers. The sense of reassurance they've got has been further strengthened by seeing the process going through smoothly and comfortably, the fact that there's a new owner, a very respected group, a large company, and in terms, therefore, of customer stability and comfort, I think it's very high. In fact, if anything, the effort is now to see how can you expand the order base, how can you get new orders, how can you possibly win back some of the customers who went away only because they were concerned, not with delivery, not with quality of service, not at all with Satyam, but with the uncertainties around what is going to happen. Now that that's gone, I'm very hopeful.
Is there a
with
trepidation?
regard to employees, as I said earlier, we have to wait and see what happens.
Well, the other area of trepidation has been the kind of demands that may be made on the company from class action suits, and more importantly, demands that may be made from others in terms of either being defrauded or in terms of what Satyam owed perhaps to other group companies and even non-group companies. Any details you can throw light on in terms of the financial stability, even as you hand over charge?
Well, these are matters that are yet under investigation, so in the broadest sense of the term, I suppose they're sub judice. I'm not a legal expert, but I wouldn't want to comment on them. All I can say is that there is a fairly good handle on what the liabilities might mean. There are obvious uncertainties on things like the class action suit. It will be, at the end of the day, for the courts or an out-of-court settlement to decide that. But I think there's a fairly good handle on what they might amount to. And there is, I would say, reasonable comfort. But beyond that, things are yet in process. As far as the fraud and the money being lent from company to another company is going on, that's under investigation, and I don't think it's something I would comment on at this stage.
Did Satyam board hear from UPaid at all?
That's an issue that I will refrain from commenting on altogether.
All right. Mr. Karnik, coming back to the industry, what is the mood in Nasscom? Is it likely that the industry this year will be flat in terms of recruitment? Would it still go ahead with some kind of recruitment, or will it be a net employer? Will it be net employing less in FY10 than it did in FY9?
My expectation at the moment is that it will be flat. I don't expect any decrease. I don't expect any big increase. There will be some recruitment because of natural attrition as people go to get them back on. But net, I don't expect any substantial increase just now. As I mentioned earlier in the question you rightly asked, there seems to be a slight change, a little bit upbeat movement in the mood. And if you watch over the next 3 months or so, if that begins to change, then I'm pretty sure that companies will again want to build up, their capabilities to take on and ride the wave when it comes. Because most people seem to feel that as these things begin to lift, the business will come back rather fast, because many people have held back business, people have cut back things which are essential, and as they begin to see the economy is lifting, they're bound to get back in substantially, and those companies that are well positioned to take it on will benefit. And therefore, if things begin to look positive, you're likely to get companies once again going into the market to recruit people substantially. But that's looking ahead somewhat optimistically. At the moment, I would just say that no substantial increases in the net numbers in the industry.
All right, Mr. Karnik, we do appreciate you taking time for us. Well, ending on a very cautiously optimistic note. Maybe flat, maybe some recruitment is what he seems to think.
Indeed. He also doesn't seem to think that new bill would get converted into a law. So he doesn't seem to be too concerned on that front as well.